So the big question is how do health experts like you and I generate more income, impact more people, and create businesses that work around their lifestyle and serve their family at the highest possible level? If you want the answer to that question, then you're in the right place at the right time. Whether you're a dietitian, a nutritionist, or a nutrition coach, this is for you. My name is Dr. Javier Carlin, and I want to welcome you to the Practice Revolution. We are a movement that is revolutionizing the way private practices are built so you can practice on your terms. So go ahead and join us and follow along as we learn, apply, and share the top business growth strategies that we're using to grow our own business and to help you grow yours, using only the best insights and advice from top industry leaders. So thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the show. What is going on, everyone? Hope you're doing absolutely amazing. For all the new members that are in this community, welcome to the Business Growth Secrets for Dietitians and Nutrition Coaches community. My name is Javier Carlin. I'm a physical therapist by trade. This is Marissa Carlin. She's a registered dietitian, and we are the co-founders of the Practice Revolution, where we help dietitians and nutrition coaches to replace their income, break free from their 9-to-5, and get to the point where they're making six figures in their practice and beyond. So if that's you, you're in the right place. And just to let you know, we have if you haven't noticed yet, a very special guest for you tonight. So what we're going to be diving into today is Insurance 101 for private practice owners. So if you are interested in learning more about how you can utilize insurance, how you can go in network with insurance without the headaches, without the overwhelm, Caroline here is going to answer all your questions tonight about insurance, getting credentialed, and so much more. So Caroline, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to chatting about this. It is such a hot topic, right? So many people have so many questions. What's the insurance thing about? Other people are like, never take it. It's a nightmare. And so one of the dietitians I work with actually was like, Caroline, there's a huge thing online about which ones do. And I'm like, okay, well, here's the deal. So at least and have explored it all the way to determine if this is something that would complement what else you're doing out there. As Javier said, I am Caroline Fornshell. I am a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and certified diabetic educator, all that stuff. I have extra initials now with that one, so don't worry about it. But I started my private practice in 2013. At that time, I did not take insurance, and it was really before telehealth and all that, right? So I was trying to figure out how to generate, income at that time to determine like, okay, I can't just sell nutrition and pay my bills at that time. I didn't have that figured out yet. Right. Mm-hmm. So this was, 10 years ago. Lots changed. And even in the last couple since the pandemic. So at the time, I was also a personal trainer. So I was like, okay, I'm going to sell fitness with nutrition packages. That's how I started. Right. You got to start somewhere. And in doing that, it was great. I met a lot of people. I did a lot of things, a lot of hustle, a lot of extra sweat. But, I thought, oh, gosh, the population that I love to serve isn't the population that always has the extra cash. And so I am a diabetic educator. I love working with grandma, and that kind of a thing. So for me, it was a no-brainer to not just become credentialed with insurance so that I could serve that population, but also to go ahead and get the accredited, diabetes ed program through ADCES. So those were, really the trend that I wanted to go to. And so I did that for a long time. I added a dietitian at a time to help, because we had a lot of people with diabetes ed. And before you knew it, I realized, I feel like the best way to help people is to help the people that help the people. And so we ended up doing a lot more in support of other dietitians, occupational therapists, PA or NPs. We have a couple RNs and even an MD on the team. So from that standpoint, where we are and how we look at kind of balancing our business model at this point is to say, hey, look, yes, cash is king. If you can get people to give you cash, you should do that. It is definitely easier, and so, but it's obviously one track. And, as I continued to expand my practice, I realized we needed a balance. And so as we brought on As we experimented with credentialing, I'm going to tell you our horror story so that you don't do this. But we started just cold trying to figure it out on the internet by ourselves, right? And so you go to the insurance company's website and you might call the rep and you fill out the application and then you wait. I mean, I definitely almost went out of business waiting for this because I wanted to take insurance, but it wasn't ready yet. But my business model was ahead of the credentialing process. It can be an arduous, unclear, and lengthy process. Okay, so knowing that and recognizing that if you're already accepting cash, great, don't stop that. Okay, if you are looking for, a way to balance your practice because of the population that you serve or because of some growth that you're having or whatever, or maybe you're seeing that, okay, I need to prepare for, curveballs or life curveballs or even recession proof, right? Because of course, insurance and having a foundation of accepting insurance can be useful there. So there's a couple ways you can utilize it as a safety net, but also recognizing like, we all know, and I'm sure Javier and Marissa talk about it all the time. It's like, you've got to live your passion, right? So if you are looking at this as a side hustle, be prepared and buckle up because it is a really tough side hustle to take insurance. So this is how we go. What is the credentialing process all about? I am going to share my screen here a little bit and I'll go back and forth here a bit. Okay. Beautiful. The first one I am going to pull up here.
Caroline, while you share that, for everyone that's on live right now, just go ahead and let us know if you are live. Put team live in the chat. If you're watching the replay, go ahead and put replay. Just so you know, we want you to ask questions. Caroline's going to be here with us tonight for about 25-30 minutes. And so any questions that you have, just start dropping those questions down below in the chat. We'll spend the last 5 minutes getting those questions answered for you. Okay, so make sure as those questions come up, as Caroline's showing you what she has pulled up, get those questions in the chat and we'll get them all answered. All right, awesome. Floor is yours.
Thanks, guys. Okay, here I am at the first step, and I'll say not quite the first step. By the time you're here, you should have a business license. You should have an LLC or a PLLC. Okay, those two things are going to be really useful if you can get them knocked out at the beginning. It's easier to do it that way first. So the business license is wherever you are collecting money at, even if it's in your home or whatever, you might have one already. And you might already have your LLC or PLLC. You can Google that in the state you're in to determine how to do that, but it's a lot easier than most people would think. You can, of course, check with your accountant to double check that that's the strategy for you based on your situation. But after you do those things, come on over here to this website. Okay, this is the NPPES. It is run by the government. Okay, this is where you are registered as a provider who's able to bill. RNs don't have this. Okay, so this is for providers who can bill. You'll create an account here, and your purpose is to kick off is to obtain your NPI-1. This is easy. It's going to take you just a couple of minutes. This is the easiest thing you do. So don't don't think that this is where it continues to be easy. It doesn't. After you get your NPI-1, which is your individual, you're going to get your NPI-2, which actually is an employer NPI. That NPI, even though you're not an employer, the way that the verbiage is, if you accept some of our national payers, is going to suggest that you are an employer for yourself. I know, right? So it gets kind of crazy and kooky that way, but this is the website where you go. You'll apply for your NPI-1 first. Usually within 24 hours, you get that number. Usually it's within an hour. And then you'll apply for your NPI-2. And that might take a couple of extra days. And that one we find, they don't actually email it to you. You got to go back in and log on and get it yourself. Okay. Once you have that number, those two numbers, give yourself a pat on the back. You are getting there. But those were the easy ones. This is the next one. The next one that's a real bear is the CAQH. And I'm working around my my screen here to show you the screen. This is your CAQH ProView application. This is your next big step, okay? This serves as a clearinghouse of information about you. So once this is a 4-hour project if you're organized. Okay, it's going to ask you everything about, like, where'd you do your internship and things like that you forgot. You have to look these dates up. So this is a really big application. Once you do this, you're going to have all the other information you need for all the other applications at your fingertips. So that's nice. The reason this exists is because after you complete every application at each of the insurance payers separately, they go back to this and check on it. I know it's redundant, but that's the way it works. So you have to you have to fill this out and keep it accurate. This is where you're going to upload your CDR card, every year or whenever you get it. This is going to be where you put your malpractice insurance, which I'm also going to talk about up here as well. Okay, so they are going to keep, they'll be a steward of your documents and your information. You will have to go here every quarter and attest that the information is correct. And so it is quite lengthy. Be prepared for that. And so in this case, after you have your NPI 1, your NPI 2, and your CAQH completed, we can talk about the malpractice insurance. Many dietitians, this is where it's just like, I've had enough, because there's so many different types of insurance. The ones that the insurance payers care about are not necessarily the ones that you would have, the type of insurance that you would have, let's say, if you were just a consultant. General business liability insurance is expensive. Usually dietitians are coming back and they're saying, hey, look, we've got $500 or something like that we have to spend on general business liability insurance. And that's not what the insurance companies need. They simply need a malpractice insurance. This should only be about $100. I see people come in, sometimes it's 80, sometimes it's 160, but it's somewhere in there, depending on where you go. I shop them all. I think that the last one I looked at that was about 115. I think we just did one that was 115, was Locked In Affinity. But you are looking at malpractice insurance only. If you've got like a State Farm person or something that you've been working with and they've been taking great care of you and they are insisting on general liability insurance, yeah, they might be right down the road, but you don't need that now. Wait till you have your practice going and that you're making money, and then then maybe you need additional insurance based on what you're doing. But for your applications, you simply need malpractice insurance. Okay, so be on the lookout for that and be aware of those prices. The other big thing that comes up, and I'll just have my face here for a second, is your location. Yes, you want to be in telehealth. I know. I want you to be in telehealth as well. It is not easy to be the way insurance is still credentialing people. They're going to look at that like that is a home-based office, and you're going to run into some additional loopholes in getting yourself credentialed if your home office is the office that you're using for the credentialing purpose. And a lot of you are like, wait, no, I don't want to go pay rent somewhere. And I'm with you. We've got some hacks that are excellent in order to help make sure that you don't have to pay rent and have an office space and deal with that whole expense. Because credentialing, the insurance companies could easily come to your office to make sure that, they know how to reach you there, even if you're not actually there. Or if you are, let's say, providing a service actually in your house, and one of the local dietitians went here to do it. She actually had to remodel her house to meet their standards, even though she wasn't actually planning on seeing very many people there, so they still recommend or required her to have the separate walkway, as if she was maybe a physician or something like that, right? They had to find out if her bathroom was going to be okay. And she went that extra mile because she was like, well, I'd like to see people at the house. And I was like, okay, good for you. But most people don't want their patients at their house, I really don't recommend it at all. So in that case, we're looking at trying to figure out how to get a location that's not your house without paying a bunch of money for it. And it's easy. You know why? Because there's a lot of therapists, traditional counselors out there that are just like us. They actually don't even get paid as much as us. And they're out there and they're required to have a space too in most states. And they are suffering too, because they probably only see 20 or 25 patients a week, and they have to pay rent for this whole other time that they don't use, I like to go and find a traditional therapist, a counselor, an LPC or an LCSW, who also is required to have that space, but doesn't want to spend a lot for it. And just call him or her up and say, hey, I'm a dietitian. What if I paid you $100 a month just to be able to, put my card out in case anybody came and audited me here, because I want to have a physical location that's attached to my practice. And she might say, great. And you might say, great, for another $100, can I see people here? And just in case you want to see someone locally, that combination is totally legit with the credentialing people. They already know that you meet the requirements. They already have that office in their database probably. And so they're less likely to come out there. Not that it would be a problem, because all they need to do when they come is make sure that your name is somewhere. This could be a business card on her ledge, and it's like, oh yes, she's got a presence here, because you'll have also a new partner that might be a great referral partner. So that's my favorite way to do this. There's lots of other places to do it. We've got people in gyms. We've got people in, lots of doctors' offices, obviously, physical therapist studios. We have somebody actually working at a lawyer's office. So there's lots of different, who do you know that has a commercial space? And so there's lots of different places that can work, but you want to make sure that you read through those contracts and understand what they're looking for. Okay, so that can be a little bit more of a headache, but I think it's easier than the CAQH. I couldn't find my dates anywhere. So anyway, guys, from that standpoint, now we've got to figure out which insurance companies you want to use. Okay, so our insurance companies, we're going to start with our nationals. All right, these are our big national payers, our top 5. So of course you've heard of Cigna. You've heard of some sort of Blue Cross product. You've heard of Aetna. You've heard of United Healthcare, and you've heard of Medicare. Those are our big top 5 national payers. Some of you might be saying, well, what about Humana? Humana is not going to credential you because apparently they live in the dark ages. I don't know what I can say on my Facebook, but I would say focus on those top 5. You're going to have the easiest time. So Blue Cross and Medicare are your biggest payers as far as volume for most zip codes. You might say, Caroline, I'm not like you. I don't want to work with, grandma and help her with her diabetes. No problem. You don't have to get credentialed with Medicare. You can maybe stick with the top 4. Medicare is a good payer though. So if you happen to know how to really work with grandma, they're going to pay you for it. And it's okay. It's okay. You've got to deal with some referrals and things like that. There's some extra red tape, but they actually pay you pretty well. So anyway, I like the top 5 for credentialing purposes as a first line goal. Then you can figure out what are your next steps from a local situation. Is your state easy to work with Medicaid? This is going to be really important for you if you want to handle pediatric patients. That's a big source of pediatric patients. If you want to look at other local payers, there's often many of them. That does take a little bit of research, right? Because every regional or local payer is going to be a little bit different. And in your market, that might be significant. In Southeast Virginia, where we are near Virginia Beach, we're out of Williamsburg, we have Optima, and that probably pays us about 15% of our overall revenue. So that's an important consideration. Now let's talk about Blue Cross. And let's talk about the difference between taking someone like Blue Cross and taking someone like Medicare. Blue Cross is going to give you a high volume in most places. Blue Cross is really specific to the state or region, so they aren't going to say like, oh, okay, well, you're credentialed in Virginia. Let's go credential you in Arizona. This is actually a real example. They said, no, how can you practice in both those states? And I'm like, because we're telehealth. And they're like, yeah, I don't know, how are you going to get back and forth? And I'm like, but they would accept us if we were Virginia, North Carolina, because it was close enough that they figured we could travel. And I'm like, we are telehealth. And they're like, yes, we know, but this is the way it works. And I'm like, okay. So there are some weird things with Blue Cross. If you move around a little bit with the other insurance carriers, It's easier. So United, Aetna, Cigna, those three are easier when you relocate a lot. Medicare also is going to be more of a regional. So let's say upper Northwest or Southeast, because there's a regional hub for each of the Medicare things. So that's also notable. Now, Medicare is going to pay you maybe like, 2 visits a year without an additional referral, and you can get those additional referrals, but it's a more paperwork, right? More effort. Blue Cross is going to give you a high volume. I mean, most of the Blue Cross that we come across, it's going to give you unlimited visits without regard to deductible or copay for the year. You can get so much done with those patients for 50 weeks or 50 visits. I mean, that's a lot, right? If they came to you every week and just did a weigh-in or self-reported, or you did a telehealth, you can help them so much. But they don't pay you much. Most Blue Cross Blue Shield, unless you're in some states, New Jersey, Louisiana, there's a couple of other random ones because Blue Cross is very state specific. So if you are, if you're in my neck of the woods, it's like, okay, well, thank you so much for the volume, but the overall reimbursement is lower. So our initials would be like $100, and we got to keep it tight in an hour. And then we got our follow-ups as like 75s. So, at some point when you build your practice big enough with, reimbursement, you're going to say, okay, I'm going to probably cap, the amount of Blue Cross I can see, because we have to make room for other higher payers, which is where Medicare comes in play, giving you like $128 depending on your region, even for the follow-ups. So that's a big $50 swing, right? So there's some pieces of the puzzle like that to connect. But if you're, let's say, saying, hey, look, I just need to make sure that I can like bring home $2,000 a month or something like that, no matter what, the average person is only going to need about 10, that would be about 10 per week. Okay. So it's not like a huge amount of your work needs to be set in play with insurance reimbursement. You can still run programs. You can still do, other cool things with your practice. You can speak, you can write, you can, get out there and do some consulting work. You can have a W-2 even on the side. Sometimes having just a base of private practice or reimbursement can really work. If you only needed 10 a week, for example, they'll just find you through the insurance companies. You don't have to build a big private practice through that. They'll just look and see who's covered, and they'll come to you, and then you can build by reputation that way. So you can see that it's like, man, there's a lot of work involved. We didn't even get to the billing piece on this, but dang, getting credentialed and getting choosing insurance companies, it can be a little difficult. As you can see, there's a lot of steps to that puzzle. At Elwell, that's one of the things that we do. We actually do practice support services for dietitians specifically. We also have OT, PT, NP, and an MD. But from that standpoint, if you want to outsource this whole thing, we'll do it for you. Not to say you can't do it yourself. You can. I will just say, like, don't expect to have it done by summer. It's going to take you a little longer in order to do that. So anyway, just letting you know that resources exist. We're here to help. You can totally do it on your own. And there's lots of resources out there for you. If you want to get a hold of me and try to figure out if this is something that you would like us to help you with, then please give us a little call, So you can reach me on email. You can go to our homepage here. This is elwell.com, and just click the Join Elwell here to learn a little bit more about what we do. So we've got a little video and those types of things. We are in it to support providers. And so let us know if we can support you.
Beautiful. I love that. So such great information. So for anyone, if you're just jumping on or if you've been on, you have some questions for Caroline, please put them down below, and we have a few minutes to get those answered. With that said, so can you tell us more about, like, what is the actual service that you're providing for people who want to go and network with insurance but don't want to do it themselves? Like, what does that process entail?
Oh, okay. So step one, we're going to set you up with our coordinator. He is actually going to take you through the list of items that we need in order to get this done, we're going to have you fill out sort of a short application so that we can do your CAQH for you. We can get the rest of the information off of little things like your resume and stuff like that, and we'll fill in the blanks for you and be in touch with that. But we'll send you out with a laundry list of specifics about like what you need to retrieve. Then what he will do is he'll make sure everything is correct. He'll send it to our credentialing manager, and then she will also make sure everything is correct. She'll go through every page of your CAQH and make sure it's correct. And then she will complete that and then begin each application for you. She actually does it all in one day. And that way, yes. And so then every 3 or 4 weeks after that, she's able to call and follow up and figure out where we are. It does not take a short period of time. It's going to take several months. So that's another thing to monitor. That's
it. That's amazing, though. I mean, I'm all about paying for speed and having other people help us with things because, it can take, like you said, it can take months, and it could take, quite a bit of time for even for someone to do it for you. Imagine trying to figure it out on your own. And I think so many newer private practice owners, they already are sometimes a little bit slow to start because there's so much unknown out there. And so if we could remove this unknown from the process, everyone watching here that's considering going to network with insurance, you can start that much faster, that much sooner. So I love it.
Speed is the way to go, right? I want it now.
Yes. For sure.
Yes, we actually have a couple of questions. First question was, could you just repeat the top 5?
Oh, yes, sure. So we've got Aetna, Cigna, United Healthcare, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and Medicare. Those are the top 5. Humana is the other big national payer, but they just don't touch us.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And then we have another question. This question's from Janet. She says, if you have a CAQH, if you worked under a company and now want to have your own private practice, do you need to fill out new paperwork?
Okay, fantastic question. Because most people, a lot of people have a CAQH and they don't know about it because their healthcare system did it for them. So what you can do is call CAQH. That's your information. That's your CAQH. You can take that back, and that is going to be under your control. They're actually surprisingly easy to work with. You do have to call them. They're going to ask you to verify your that you are who you say you are like 15 times. So have everything handy. But you can take control back of your CAQH and then go in and modify it as if it was always yours.
Awesome. All right, we got 2 more questions that just rolled in. We got a question from Beck. She says, do you know if there are still challenges getting credentialed in Florida? A few years ago, I was told the top companies weren't accepting new providers or they didn't have MNT benefits.
Yeah, Florida's a rough state. What we have found, so no, I think that Florida is not doing well with this yet. They don't have it together. And same with Colorado. Colorado, the reimbursement is really, really remarkably low. So there's a couple of pockets that aren't cool. But for our Florida people, I'd say, hey, look, there's some dietitian deserts out there where we really need dietitians to be helping the people that live there. For example, Atlanta, you're so close in Georgia, it's East Coast time. That's easier. Can you get set up while living in Florida and be a Georgia dietitian? Yes, you can. Okay, so I would say starting a telehealth practice in an area like that is going to be more fruitful for you. I would, unlike doing cash pay, you're really going to be kind of honed in on that geographic area. So I would just say choose wisely. Do you have family somewhere? Those types of things. But Florida's not working great for MNT reimbursement or dietitian credentialing at this time.
Awesome. Great insight on that. All right. More questions. We got one from Elizabeth. She says, under the requirements for Blue Cross credentialing, specifically looking at Louisiana, there's a requirement for a Medicare Advantage number. Does that mean that I need to get credentialed through Medicare first before I apply for Blue Cross?
I don't think that that's a requirement. So we do have Louisiana dietitians that don't have a Medicare number. So I don't think that it's a requirement. I'm not sure what you're looking at there, but good for you. That's a great state to be reimbursed for by Blue Cross Blue Shield. If you do if you do find that, for whatever reason, I mean, I just credentialed this person like a month ago and didn't need this number. But if things have changed in 2023, like as of 11 days ago or something, things changed. I would say like you would just have to go to Novitas, which is the Medicare provider for Louisiana.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Hey, Caroline, I know we said we were going to stop at 6:30. We do have a few more questions. Do you have a bit more time, or are we?
Absolutely. Let's go.
Okay, perfect.
All right. We got two from Jacqueline. The first one is, why is there a difference in time when you do it yourself or when you apply through a company?
It's just, I mean, when I went through it, it probably took me a year and a half because it's so unclear. Each of the different companies has like a different way they go about it. For example, like we say we do it all in one day for, and we do, like, let's say if we're doing Cigna, we have to like apply to apply. On Cigna, but you can go straight through, like let's say on something like United. So, Cigna can turn it around faster. So that's great. But each individual insurance company is doing it differently, and it can be confusing, especially if you want to take, Medicare. I feel like that was probably the most confusing one. But I mean, really, the top four are probably a bit easier. But I would just say like, be prepared for weird things to happen. And then most people, when they ask you for a specific piece of extra information or something like that, then you might scramble for a couple of weeks. You don't know what they're talking about. You have to ask them, you have to call, they have to get back to you. And so there's just a lot of backs and forths. And so I think that that's probably the biggest reason.
Yeah, for sure. And before we get to the next questions, I had a thought that came up because you've mentioned this a couple of times. The process either way can take is lengthy. Obviously, with working with you and having someone to do it for you, it can shorten that quite a bit. But at the same time, for all of you that are wanting to go and network with insurance, right, because it still can take, whether it's a few months or I don't know if it can take up to a year, but in the meantime, right, you can still start working on building the foundations of other aspects of your practice, whether it's the marketing, right, putting yourself out there, being able to take those cash pay clients, figuring out the process that you're taking your people through. Like there's so many things that you could still be doing in the meantime that the last thing I want for every single one of you is to delay on all the foundations you can be putting down while waiting for this to happen, because you just never know how long it can take. And so I wouldn't use that as an excuse not to start now. Have that working in the background, but start helping people today, because there is no time like the present. So just wanted to give everyone a reminder on that.
Yes. And I think you mentioned it earlier, and I believe you mentioned it earlier as well, but you can definitely do a combination of insurance and cash pay. It's not that one is better than the other. They're both great. You're going to get clients results with both of them, and you can absolutely do both. But in the meantime, start with cash if you're getting started and get your insurance stuff rolling in the background. And then when you get your insurance, then you have the option to do both.
Yes, I absolutely will add to that and say, if you're talking about trying to get to 6 figures, and you're trying to do private practice for insurance reimbursement, there's just not enough hours in the day, and so I would say like, you're looking at reimbursement of about $112 an hour or something like that. But, you're going to get burnt out 101 all day long to 100,000, So I would just say like, it's a nice foundation. It's a nice base. I definitely encourage the dietitians that we work with to, create their own programs to try to get, a nice balance of different revenue streams. That's the way to kind of really find, I think, your path over time. And of course, if insurance changes, you have cash, or if the recession comes, then you have insurance. It's nice to have a balance.
100%.
Absolutely.
All right, we got more questions. Jacqueline says, what is the main difference between applying as a company versus individually?
If you are applying for a company as your NPI2, versus your NPI 1, or I'm not sure if she's asked me that question, but I'll answer that. I just let someone name my Naomi in. I'm not sure who that is. So anyway, from that standpoint, if you're getting your NPI 1, then your NPI 1 is just for the individual. And so you will need that for all of them. If you are looking at your NPI 2, this is your company. So whatever you did, your LLC, they will need your employer identification number on your IRS letter that says, hey, look, you're an employer. Even though you're not an employer, you're an employee to yourself. Oh, it's really annoying, but that's the way they do it. Okay, so yes, you do need an NPI 2. Now, not all the insurance companies will require it. Most of the time Blue Cross does, but again, it's state specific. If you are doing Medicare, they're absolutely going to require it. I don't think United, Cigna, or Aetna need it, but those are probably lower on the totem pole because they aren't necessarily, that's probably going to be an accumulated 20% tops of your overall revenue. So you'll probably need it.
Awesome. So we got a follow-up question from Beck. Beck was the one who was asking about challenges with getting credentialed in Florida. And so Beck was asking, can I get a license in a different state, for example, Pennsylvania, where my family lives, and use that address as a workaround? So use PA, but still live in Florida?
Yeah, Beck, you got this together. You know exactly what you're doing. That's a great market up there. You know, there's a lot of volume. There's a lot of people. Yes, Beck from Pennsylvania. Get it, girl.
All right.
So last question here, and then we'll wrap it up. So Kimberly's asking, is telehealth still being reimbursed for all companies? Do you see this ending soon?
I have no fear about telehealth. There are differences in some states about if you're going to get 100% of the contracted rate. This goes to parity laws. Parity is like, hey, look, are you able to get the same amount on telehealth as this? So some of the states that don't have them, you could get gypped. You'd really have to look and make sure that you have, so double check parity law in your state. Louisiana has 75% max or minimum. So they'll do 75% of the contracted rate over telehealth. So it's more advantageous to be in person again there, right? In Virginia, we don't have that. And so I feel like, oh, okay, well, they're paying us the same rate, type of a thing. Aetna last year decided to stop paying telehealth for like 2 or 3 months. And we were like, what? You have to tell us first. It was a big mess. Okay, so this is like insurance does what they want. And so then they sent us an apology letter. This wasn't just me, this was everybody. They sent us an apology letter and they say our members demand telehealth. And so, and they back paid us for the stuff that they hadn't paid us for yet. So, I think that was where I felt like we got this, guys. It's not going anyway because their subscribers, their members raised such a fuss, not just over dietitians, but all over all of medical to say, hey, look, we need telehealth.
100%.
Yeah, that's so good to hear. Awesome. Well, this was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for coming in here and providing so much value to the community. Everyone give Caroline a huge thank you in the chat.
Thank you, Caroline.
You, round of applause. I love it. Awesome. Well, everyone, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. I hope you have a great rest of your evening. And we're going to go ahead and invite you to our group. So she might be in the group. If you have any questions, just post them in this live chat, and she may be able to get in there and answer those questions for you. Awesome. So Caroline, last thing, where can people find out more about you and your services? What's your website?
Oh, yep, sure. You can find me at lwell.com, LWELL.com. Look for the green, and then you can click right here, and there are 4 providers, and join LWell. Not that you're joining us, but that we may work for you. And so just check us out there.
Perfect.
Beautiful.
Awesome. All right. Well, have a great night.
Thank you so much, Caroline.
We'll see y'all soon. Hey, what's up? Thank you so much for watching the show. I know your time is super valuable, and I know that you're here to learn how to grow a successful practice. So I have something special just for you. If you are a health expert who is in business or aspiring to be, and you're curious about how to grow a profitable, impactful practice, you're going to want to pay attention. Because as a person who is watching the show, I want you to win. So I've created a bundle of resources exclusively for those who are watching the Practice Revolution. So if you are tired of trying to figure out this game of business, marketing, and sales all on your own, and you're ready to implement what's already proven to work rather than reinventing the wheel, you're going to want to send us a private message on Instagram at The Practice Revolution. And simply just let us know that you watched this show, and we'll personally hand over $7,000 worth of trainings, resources, and coaching that is available only for those who are watching this show on YouTube. So if you want to know how to increase your income, impact, and build a practice that works for the lifestyle that you want and that serves your family at the highest level, send us a private message on Instagram at The Practice Revolution. Do it now so you can win big in your practice and in your life. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next show.